Hey, we're here discussing marital issues, and one of the ones that the three of us have wanted to discuss is the subject of intimacy. I remember hearing John Hagee share one time that he went to visit a man in prison, that he didn't kiss his wife for 20 years, and then he shot the man that did. So, you know, there's a reason why we all got married, and that's because of the, you know, the physical attraction that we have, and because the relationship begins to grow in age, it doesn't mean that it has to diminish in intimacy and the need for that kind of love and that kind of compassion and emotion to be shared. So, David, anything on intimacy you'd like to share?
Well, I guess the first thing I'd like to think about is into me you see. That's what intimacy should look like. It's an area where we do expose ourselves to one another in heart, in thought, in passion, and in our desires. You know, I think about this. The scripture, it tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 that a man's body is not his own. It belongs to his wife. And a woman's body is not her own. It belongs to her husband. I don't have the right to withhold that intimacy from my wife when she desires it. And neither does she have that authority to withhold it from me. That is contrary to what the scripture actually tells us. If we agree together to separate or to hold off the intimate and affectionate aspect of our marriage for a period of time, well, we determine how long that time should be, and then we come back together so that we're not tempted during that period of time to find other ways to satisfy the desires of our flesh. And, you know, I know for me as a man, one of the things I treasure in the intimacy I have with my wife is the closeness that it brings. I love the fact that I feel that I'm maybe respected more, maybe loved more, cared for more. I just feel so much more a part of who she is after the act than possibly before. And for right now, that's a satisfying area to be living in.
And I firmly believe that sex is spiritual warfare. It helps hold a couple together. The walls come down because there's that intimacy. The devil hates it. And I just think that the Lord, that was one of the things He designed.
Along that same line, I believe that sexual intercourse between a man and a woman is one of the things that God gave us to help us to forgive each other. And this is one of the things when I counsel people that are getting married, so maybe you're watching this and you're not married yet, I would really caution you to abstain from having intercourse before you're married. The reason being is because if you're having sex before you're married, you're going to overlook people's shortcomings that you might ought to see before you say, I do. Now, after you've said, I do, and you did, then that action is going to help you to forgive the other. And I understand, I've heard, you know, that, well, I ain't going to say that, but anyway, that sex, you know, is not something that just happens in the bedroom. It begins at every day in your relationship with each other. So, you know, you don't find, you know, a hot ticket whenever you've been cold all day long toward each other and expect to jump in the sack and get everything forgiven. So intimacy is not just having intercourse and making out and, you know, holding, but it's, you know, it includes sitting on the couch and putting your arm around each other, or being nice, or being pleasant, or being kind, and sharing your desire and your need to be with the other. And I want to echo what David said. The Bible is very clear in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 that, you know, if you withhold that intimacy from your spouse, you're defrauding them and keeping back from them what God says you should give. And there's times where a guy may have a high sex drive, or a woman may have low, or You know, when the woman's got the high and the guy's got the low, then all the other guys are jealous over that guy. But anyhow, there's got to be a mending or a blending of each other's desires, to take each other's consideration and each other's desires into consideration, and to not defraud each other, but to be intimate and to be kind and to be considerate and loving with each other.